Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Now we are ready for part two of RIP Synergy. Now, as I'm reading this, I'll be looking for you to be taking in the information because I will be putting some pointers out there at the end as normal. Now, this is part two, okay? And by the way, once again, this is the first part of a 3-book series. So each book then continues on the story. Okay. The meditation process is essentially easy to master. There is no secret ingredient, only uncovered through many years of thought and study, and there is no way that anyone can get it wrong. It is all about being able to focus on one thing only. Most people automatically enter a meditative state before they fall asleep. When the TV screen becomes blurred, when the writing on the page of a book moves around, when thoughts drift away from our normal solid life and head towards the cartoon anti-symmetry of our relaxed self. These are the first steps towards meditation. Each person has his or her own preferred method of achieving the meditative state. It can be beneficial to picture something that we can easily return to. It does not matter what this is, just so long as your mind can travel to this item or place with as little thought effort as possible. I relax on the bed. I imagine myself before a stone doorway. My right hand touches the stone until I can perceive the coarseness of the rock as it crumbles away like sand beneath my fingertips, as they lightly brush against its surface. The stone entrance has carvings around it, but I'm not aware of what they are. My focus is solely on the loosening particles of stone in my fingers. When I feel the time is right, I enter a small chamber. Inside the chamber is a chair, its back lowered so the top and feet are equidistant to the floor. I enter and sit on the chair. I relax into the seat and imagine a pure white light emanating from the ceiling and moving slowly towards the floor. This is my higher self. I am enveloped by my higher self and feel energized by the positivity within the white light as it drops ever so slowly over my body. Sometimes I am visited by Jesus or another higher being. Such visitations can happen spontaneously or at my request. I feel calmed, relaxed and cleansed by all the positive energies now in the chamber. When the time is right, a portal opens on the opposite side of the room. I am then standing on a sandy beach. Sometimes I sit and cross my legs facing the gently breaking waters in front of me. The sound of the waves further serves to calm me. Here I might be visited by a higher energy or being. On other occasions I will commence walking along the beach. It is essential that I feel the sand beneath my feet, the grains trickling across my toes. The more focus that you can place on the vision before you, the better will be any information received and its beneficial impact. I am aware of the sun, the sand, the water, of everything around me. I turn right. There are some small, well-worn wooden fences, ankle high, progressing towards the gently rolling sea. I step over the first wooden barrier. The sand beyond is a brownish brick colour. I bend and pick up some of the warm sand and place it in my pocket. I continue along the beach towards the next wooden breaker. I step over it. There is now an underlying red tint to the sand. Again, I pick up some of the sand and put it in the same pocket as before. On the next beach, the sand is a dull green colour, the next pink, the next a light blue, the next is an indigo colour. Finally, I arrive at a bright white stretch of sand. I've now completed a full circle of this small island paradise. Each beach represents the colour of my 7 major chakras. I now sit cross-legged and visualise each of my chakras spinning faster and faster and lining up inside my body. Like pure clear crystals, each chakra throws off the brilliance of its own reflected light as it spins faster and faster. If I have issues I need to address, I will then walk across a rickety wooden bridge to a roughly made shack at the end of a short pier. The door is locked. To gain entry to the shack, I must first vomit any negativity and darkness into a metal bowl that sits to the left of the entrance. It very much feels as if I am being sick. I can feel the bitter hotness of bile as all my troubles spew out. Sometimes I see particular issues as dark objects in the black mash that exits my throat. Once finished, I find a key at the bottom of the bucket. I pick up the key, insert it into the wooden door, and enter the shack. Inside there is a chair in the middle of a room fronted by a wooden desk and a computer terminal. There is no keyboard, no hard drive tower, just the terminal screen. To the left corner is the only window. Bright light bathes that side of the room in warm sunlight. First I step up to the window, immersing myself in the warmth of the sun. It cleanses me, it warms and comforts me. I approach the desk and sit on the seat. A soft pillow supports my bottom and my back. I wait for the terminal to flicker to life. The terminal will sometimes begin to communicate messages. The messages do not necessarily appear on the terminal screen. Sometimes I see images or am aware of messages coming to me in other forms. However, these messages arrive. They are always in answer to the issues I bring to the shack. I can ask questions to further explore the communications I receive. When ready, I can shut down the terminal, leave the shack and shut the door. The trip back along the rickety wooden bridge is a journey back to consciousness. The closer I get to the beachfront, the more awake I become. The island, the sea, the sky, everything fades and dissipates until the blackness of closed eyes is all I see. I wake up feeling energized and with a positive outlook. Everything that happens within a good meditation is remembered and ready to be utilized in my physical life. This time it was different. No sooner had I closed my eyes than I felt a tingle from my toes to my head. It felt like a small current of electricity shooting through my body. I gave in to the feelings and let my mind switch off. I felt as if I was giving off small waves of static and let my hairs on my arms were standing straight up from my tiny raised pimples of skin. My head started to feel warm. This warmth spread through my neck and shoulders. It was as if my whole body was presenting itself to attention. In my mind's eye, I was walking slowly up a gently inclining path. A green field of cut grass stretched left and right. A small number of trees grew around me. The path seemed to comprise of those small earthen-coloured bricks that commonly make up a driveway. These bricks were very clean, the joints between them flat and perfectly placed. Not one brick stuck out, not one misplaced. At the top of the incline, slightly to the left of the path, was a small stone bench, overarched by a silver-barked beech tree. The bench was not adorned in any way, just two slabs of slightly worn stone topped by another one. The bark on the tree was worn in patches. Small slits of bark peeled away at several places, revealing a vaginal-like entrance to the moist pale amber trunk beneath. The umbrella of leaves sat on slender, gently sloping branches. This umbrella provided perfect cover for the bench from the sun, which was pure and bright, but contained no perceivable warmth. The sky had a pink and orange tinge, the like of which I had never known before. I approached the bench and sat down. There was no sound at all. No birds sang, no flies or wasps buzzed. I could make out no extraneous sounds at all. As I recalled walking on the path, there was no sound beneath my feet, but that is how it is here, a place I visited a number of times. The hill overlooked a patchwork of fields, all seemingly as well maintained as this one, with small hedges fringing each one. In the distance to the left and ahead of where I was, I could see a huge crystal city, domes and erect skyscrapers atop many glistening walls. The sun bounced off every parapet, glistening red, yellow, pink, blue, and all the colours of the rainbow. Somebody approached from my left side. I cannot say walked, because there was no place movement of their body. I could not make out any feet beneath his clothing. As he moved, his legs could clearly be seen pushing against the material of a robe that was an almost indistinguishable grey in colour. The robe sat perfectly on broad shoulders. The hood of the robe shaded his face, disguising the features beneath. I could only describe it as if he were gliding towards me, but even this was not accurate, as his feet definitely made contact with the ground. My visitor sat down beside me on the stone seat. So what are we here for? My thoughts projected out. No need to move my lips or resonate my voice box to get my message across. The communication was exactly like talking, with no corruption from extraneous thought processes, but without any physical input from my body or facial features. That is up to you, my friend. I am always aware of your circumstances, your thought processes, your actions. Everything you do, say, and hear, I will always be aware of. So your question is better directed to you. I am here for you. That is my role in your existence, in your life. My visitor kept his head facing straight ahead. Though I could see no face, I was able to make out the maleness of his communication. I could detect his wisdom. Everything I needed to know about my visitor was immediately available to me. He knew why I was here, and he was aware of every moment of the circumstances leading up to me sitting next to him. Yes, but this time is different, isn't it? Yes, it is. If there was one thing I had learned from meeting my spiritual guides, it was that although they possessed seemingly endless knowledge of me and my immediate world on the physical and spiritual planes, the process of communication was always driven by me. I get answers from my communication I put forward, but such answers would inevitably lead to further questions, some of which I was unaware before our communication. Okay, so I guess you're going to tell me what is going on with the deaths of these young people. I am here only to offer guidance to that which helps you on the path to finding the answers you seek, so that you may further gather and use greater knowledge than you already possess. A signpost shows the most direct route to a destination. I am your signpost. Of course, you should first understand that no answers exist, none at all. And because of this fact, there can be no teachers. Greater wisdom is not defined by how much you learn, but by how much you put learning into practice in an effort to learn more. There is no pinnacle to reach. It is in searching for the quickest route to the pinnacle that greater wisdom is gained and can then be used. But if the pinnacle itself does not exist, then why do we try to achieve the unachievable? Because only in the search for the pinnacle of knowledge, the non-existent answers to everything, can you discover greater knowledge of all that you do not yet know. This is the definition of learning. Answers only lead to more questions. Our quest for knowledge is insatiable only because ultimate knowledge is never ending. So there is no one being, no one energy that has greater knowledge than all the rest. What about God, the one creator? I asked. Many humans believe that man was created by God in the image of God. But let's turn that around a bit. Would it not be better to state that God was created by man in the image of man? Well, it might be better, but it would be wholly unacceptable to a huge chunk of the human population. And those who would not accept this description of God, I guess that they would be the ones, the descendants of the ones, or the believers of the ones, who originally created this image of God. You see, to behave in some way deemed to be good, human beings must create just the opposite. Unless you know bad, you cannot know good. In this case, God must also be vindictive and impossible to please. Otherwise, there is no incentive to keep working hard to get on the right side of God, to warrant your salvation. Going to the extreme, many believe that you are born bad, so in your struggle to achieve salvation in the eyes of your Creator, you must overcome this badness inherent in being born. And to make this God phenomenon more believable, then God must take the image of an old, judgmental man who could strike you down for looking at a lady's ankles. This is how the image of God was created. Well, yes, I guess so. How could so many people, bereft of the knowledge of education and knowledge, believe in the living of a good life on the say-so of something you cannot perceive? Exactly. So God was created by man, and not the other way around. And why should there be only one creator? Because that is what we are taught since birth. This is the only reality we know. As I think you already know, if it is real to you, then it is a real thing, it exists. In truth, there are so many creators, as many gods that you can imagine there to be. And do you believe that these creators, these gods, know absolutely everything about everything? Well, yes, I cannot see how it can be any other way. Not at the moment, maybe, but it can. It can be any way you're open for it to be. You also believe, do you not, that your earthly physical existence serves to bring the experiencing in a physical form of a set of circumstances and situations that occur throughout your physical life? And if only for your benefit, then why predetermine what set of circumstances you should be born into? That is your belief, is it not? Well, yes, I guess it is, I replied. And why do you think one or many creators, gods, would give you that opportunity? What's in it for him, for them? Are you really only toys, puppets to be played with? Are the one or many creators like children in a playground throwing down the situation, that problem, this person, that loss as a game? And what would be the point in that? None that I could see. The situation would only have merit if God were the devil, playing bad tricks and jokes on people. And there is no devil, dear one. No such thing has ever existed. It was all made up. What about demons, curses, hexes? Again, all existed given life by an individual perspective. If you go to a haunted house, what might you expect to experience? I see. But you are telling me that God, the one ultimate knowledge, the creator or creators of everything that there ever has been, is not a font of ultimate knowledge. That's an extraordinary claim. Extraordinary a claim it might be, but it is true nonetheless. You are sent to experience a physical reality. Is this what you believe? Yes. And the experiences you have in that physical reality can, and usually do, provide learning or gained knowledge in one way or another, yes? Yes. Then why can your understanding of your existence, this playing and replaying out of physical experiences, birth, death, and rebirth, and the everlasting glory of your existence, be limited to that of yourself? Can you not see that your life on Earth, or any other planet, your energetic existence in other planes, can you not see that all this, my guide raised his arms above his head, that all this may not serve another purpose? Go on. Okay, what if all existence of whatever shape or form on planet Earth, or any other satellite anywhere, has another purpose? What if the playing and replaying of experiences in any form whatsoever serves the purpose of another? You mean God, gods, the creator or creators? Yes, why not? If not for this creative force, then nothing at all would exist, correct? I guess so. And this creative force, have you ever directly experienced that without any shadow of a doubt? Well, I believe so, but I cannot answer yes for sure, I answered. And would it be fair to say that this creative force, this God, is not able to take a physical form, or, to put it more accurately, chooses to experience all of the creative powers of all universes through the living, breathing, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling of them, as fed directly to the force by elements of it that can take physical form. I myself am a guide to 50,000 humans alive at this moment, plus many more that currently reside here on the spiritual plane. That being said, it stands to reason that this creative force itself can never reach the pinnacle of knowledge and wisdom that does not, in reality, exist, since as much physical experience as has already been, much, much more is yet to be experienced. Let me get this right. You are suggesting that the creative force responsible for everything cannot, or chooses not, to take a physical form. This is so that the vast array of experiences that have happened and will ever happen to physical forms can be fed to the creative force as and when each of these beings finishes a physical existence and returns to the energetic pool of matter that makes up this creative force. Yes, that is a very good summary. And the same drive that this creative force has to reach the non-existent pinnacle of knowledge is that which drives the individual aspects of the creative force to do the same thing. Yes, and there, my good friend, is the meaning of life. So what is it I need to learn? And how does my being here relate to the deaths of Solly Sanders and the others? All of creation is a part of life being lived. All has a role, and all is part of the everything. Your physical existence on earth can never be separated from your spiritual being. To better address the issues of immediate concern, it will be beneficial for you to learn at first hand of the link between your physical existence and the spiritual realm. And to answer your question, we need to go there. My guardian pointed towards the crystal city in the distance, his robe draping over his arm, covering everything except the digit with which he indicated our destination. My understanding was that in the spiritual environment there is no need for speech. Feelings and thoughts are immediately available to all. There we wear our thoughts and feelings as part of our energetic makeup. There is no need for secrets or suspicions, for lies or deceit. Negative energies are a necessary part of our physical makeup, since without negative feelings or circumstances, there can be no learning. How can we adjust our understanding or increase our knowledge with no need to do so? In the physical plane, we often bemoan negative influences in our lives. We ask constantly, how can a God of love, a God of devotion, allow such pain and suffering as we are consistently witness to? The solution is not an easy one to accept. With no bad, how can good be known? With no negative, how can we be aware of positive? It is a simple answer, but nonetheless true. Judgment is often the root of all negativity on earth. We see other people as doing wrong while we judge ourselves as right. Any occasion when a person suffers, we judge as unnecessary, cruel, heartless, or evil. We judge other people all the time. But how often can we stand back and see the wider picture? How many times can we truly see and understand the other side of any situation? We invest so much time in our own view on things that we do not allow ourselves to be aware of any other standpoint. But the fact is that any perceived negative impact on our lives has a reason, and is seen as a way to achieve a legitimate end by the perpetrators. We learn nothing from goodness. We can only know good because of the knowledge of bad. Without night we could never know day. Without cold we could never know hot. Without wet we could never know dry. Lack of judgment is seen as foolish by some people, but as enlightenment by others. The truth is that a lack of judgment must inevitably lead to a lack of negativity in our lives. Any negative aspects of our lives are growth experiences. The more we try to judge them or seek to ignore them, the more they will occur. The communication with my host came to me as words because that is what I am used to on the earth plane. I am a visitor to the spiritual realm, only through meditation. While I can understand all that is communicated to me, it is only through words that I can better understand and acknowledge what is put before me. To exist in a reality where all thoughts, all our emotions are readily available to all other inhabitants seems to me intrusive, but that is only by way of my human learning. What is also clear is that our learning in the physical realm, our knowledge of our surroundings and our individual culture, how we deal with any issues that cross our life paths, is so familiar that this is the only way we can effectively operate. So the same must surely be true in the spirit realm. How we communicate, how we exist in the spirit realm, is just as comfortable and normal as it is for human beings to exist on earth. The crystal city is larger than it looks from a distance. Travelling to it was instantaneous. One moment we were seated under the pleasant shade of the drooping willow, and the next we were inside a magnificent crystal hall. Passageways led off into the distance, separated by a dozen inclining steps. In the centre of the hall stood a 2-metre high rectangular crystalline wall encompassing a set of small trees, creeping foliage adorning the sides all around. The massive hall seemed deserted apart from my guide and me. This is the Hall of Remembrance. Hall of Remembrance? Remembrance of what? I asked telepathically. This place is commonly used as a meditative area, where we are able to remember feelings, sensations and emotions that we have experienced in a physical form. I see nothing that might help to enter a relaxed enough state for meditation. It is often easier to meditate while looking at an object, listening to a sound, feeling a breeze, or even while moving around. Even on earth you can easily meditate while walking, listening to music or focusing on anything. But there is nothing to look at. There seems very little inside this hall to focus on, I probed. And nobody is here, only you and I. You are incorrect. Whatever tools that might be required are available through the vibrations in this hall. It is just a case of tuning your own vibration to that which you desire. That is the very essence of our existence here in this realm. At any time and in any one place, we can assume an alternative vibration to experience whatever it is we require. Wow! A playground where we can be whoever we want to be, experience anything we want to experience just by calling it to us? Amazing. Not so amazing. You have this capacity on Earth too. The environment is a little heavier, a bit slower, but you have the capability to bring to you anything at any time. I have occasionally experienced receiving something just after thinking about it. I would not say I called something to me, and I might describe such an incident as coincidence, but in recent years I have come to accept that maybe there is no such thing as coincidence. So is this hall called here? And by whom? I asked. All in the spiritual environments is called into being. Common areas are collectively brought forth. All creation is that way. Everything carries its own energetic vibration. There is an underlying vibration to every animate and inanimate object. This is its blueprint. But everything has the ability to vary its vibration and thereby change itself into another form. And that is what happens when we die? Although put as a question, I felt I already knew the answer. Yes. Energetic vibrations are changing all the time. Energy can never be destroyed. It can never finish. All it can do is vibrate at a different frequency so that it changes form. For a century, this is already scientifically proven on your planet. Yes, for inanimate objects, for molecules and atoms. There is no such thing as an inanimate object. If you could look inside a rock, you would see molecules moving around, so the rock is ever redefining itself without any external influence. Everything lives, everything is created from molecular energy. A rock was not always a rock. The rock went through a millennium of energetic molecular changes before it became what it is now, and it will continue to do so for eternity. What you might consider as living entities go through the very same process. It is not so easy for us to contemplate such revelations during our everyday lives, where the only two things for sure are death and taxes. We live so much in a world of emotion and chaos that our fundamental existence is ignored, taken for granted. But here, where these issues are at the forefront of existence, where death, taxes, emotion and chaos do not exist, it all becomes easy to interpret and understand. My host continued. At this very moment, this hall is full of energies using unique vibrations to meditate on issues of relevance to them. These issues take form and can appear as real as at any time during a physical existence. Your perception, however, is that the hall is completely empty. This is only because your vibrations match with the hall that you see and the fact that you and I occupy a space in this hall. But there are ever so slightly different vibrations going on all around you without your knowledge. This acts as an aid to meditation. Many energies here prefer a common vibration. It helps them focus on their own issues to be in the visible vicinity of others. My host turned slightly and lifted his arm towards one of the corridors leading from the hall. Immediately we were inside a huge crystal library. Light was cast everywhere from multitudes of crystal shelves. The ceilings rose more than 30 meters above me. I remember how it seemed strange that I knew a boundary existed up there, but I could not see it. The chamber was vast, stretching into the distance so that from the entrance the opposite wall was not visible. Each shelf held numerous books from floor to ceiling. This library holds every book ever written, and every book that ever will be written. It also holds ideas of books that are yet to be started, of every literary kind imaginable. My host began to explain the immensity of this place. It also holds the records of every lifetime ever lived, of those lives that are happening right now and of those lifetimes yet to happen. My mouth fell open involuntarily. Our Akashic records. That is a common human term for what is here, yes. What do you call them? We have no need to apply names to what exists. It is simply known and recognized. My communication with you is through words out of necessity, not by choice. The communication of choice throughout the spirit realm is that which comes from knowledge and recognition. So nothing can be communicated of which you are unaware. That is correct. And therein lies the necessity of physical lifetimes and experiences, and also the necessity to build on these with spiritual awareness between lifetimes, I asked. Put quite simply, most of what you say is correct. So what am I missing? That of which you are so far not knowledgeable, that of which you, as an entity, are unaware. Until such times I reach further towards the pinnacle of knowing that does not exist. That is correct. So I can view any manuscript in any lifetime I wish, I eagerly asked. Yes. How do I do that? Through your desire. Through your desire must be clean. It must be intense. It must be real. Just focus your desire to see whatever it is you would like to see, and you will find that information before you. I focused on viewing my own Akashic record. I was a little reticent to view such an open and honest account of my life, but my desire overcame any reservations I might have had. I closed my eyes to make my visualization stronger, bolder. On opening my eyes, a buff-coloured folder lay in front of me on the crystal desk. My guide stood to my right. I opened the cover and saw a blank page. I flipped the page and found another blank page, and then another. This is empty, I said, turning to face my host. Focus intensely on a page. Meditate on that page. Let nothing else enter your mind except the information that lies within. Easy for my host to say, but this was a new experience for me. I stared at the page. Shortly I was aware of a greyish flickering around the outer edges. As I stared at the centre, the greyness vanished. I returned my attention once again to the middle of the page. As I did, the greyness at the edge of the page moved towards the centre and started filling the colours, and a picture finally emerged. I could see a young boy of 7 staring intently into a mirror. Though I was looking at a page in a book, the image was not flat, and I was able to view it from every angle at the same time, to immerse myself in the textures and in the light and shade of the image before me. Not only that, it seemed that I was also aware of a depth in the image, of the odours of the moment, of the feel of the air upon the boy's skin, and also of the taste inside the boy's mouth. It was as if the boy existed inside of me, like I was an invisible shroud draped over his form. I felt like I was inside and outside the image concurrently. The boy did not seem to be aware of my presence, but he was aware of something in his reflection, something other than that which stood in front of the mirror. His stare was unwavering. He was looking for something, searching for information that lay just beyond his reach. And then it hit me like a bullet to the head. This boy was waiting for some unknown thing or event to make its presence known. I looked harder at the image before me. The boy's eyes glistened deep blue, moisture flooding the bottom of each eyelid. The boy was sad, and he was scared by what he feared was on its way into his life. As I relaxed my focus, the image before me faded slowly, as the wave of flickering grey folded from the edges of the page into the centre. Then it was gone. What you should understand is that whatever you view in your Akashic records will have a particular relevance to you at the time you view it. The message from my guide did little to help me understand what I had just witnessed. That boy was me when I was little. It was as if I was there with him. It was incredible. But why do I get the feeling that he was very scared of something, but he didn't know what that something was? And do you know what else? I feel like I know what the image was about, but that answer lies just beyond my reach. What you witnessed was a living image of an event that has a significant relevance to you at this time, and this is the way in which the records are commonly used. Each page holds an imprint of an event from any past, present or future, physical existence of that entity to whom the record belongs. So that means that I could not look into my future, including lives yet to be lived. Hey, I could find out next week's winning lottery numbers. Nothing in your records will be revealed of which you are unaware. Akashic records react to your evolutionary progress. So if viewing an event in a future lifetime would assist in your development, then that information might well be made available to you. But the Akashic records themselves are evolving, as the decisions you make shape your future opportunities for growth. So the records of life must also take account of such change. The raison d'etre of all creation is to live and experience, since this is the best way in which evolution can occur, my guide explained. Okay, so our physical and spiritual existence is all to do with one, personal growth and development, as well as being a contributory factor to the evolution of all creation. I have something else to show you. My guide bowed a little, and we moved on again. Immediately we were inside a cave-like room. The walls rose to meet in a dome at the centre of the room, which was lit by a soft apricot light emanating from its centre. The cave walls, though appearing rough and unkempt, were not dark or dingy. There was no sense of the moisture that most people might associate with a cave. My host began explaining this room's role. One thing most humans associate with their passage to the spirit realm is that the first thing they will do is be judged on their actions in their preceding lifetime on Earth. Of course, if this is what they think will happen, then it will. However, in reality, All will have a chance to review what happened in their latest visit to the physical realm from every aspect. This is where such a viewing might take place. Their latest visit? So reincarnation is a reality. Maybe not insofar as most descriptions of reincarnation you might know. There can be no reincarnation if there is everlasting existence. We're all in energy, and as you might know from a knowledge of basic physics, no energy can be destroyed. You, therefore, are everlasting. The physical form you adopt when visiting the earth plane is just that, a form you have adopted. And what does from every aspect mean? It means that any situation or action encountered during a physical lifetime can be known from every aspect, and not just from the viewpoint of you as you were in that physical context. That means you get to know the outcomes of your deeds, the feelings of other people affected by your words and actions. Yes, the energetic vibrations sent out by our words and actions cause an imprint that remains forever. This imprint can impact other energetic vibrations, like a ripple, which in itself can cause a change to the vibrations it has impacted. Human emotions and feelings are energetic vibrations, and just as they can change, so can everything else. This is all part of the same creative principles we spoke of before. As such, these vibrational changes are recorded and can be replayed forever and evermore. And this is what many people believe to be our life review. Yes, but that term is inaccurate. It is simply a replaying of vibrational changes caused by actions and words, feelings and emotions, created while in any of your physical forms. So if we have many previous lifetimes, these too can be reviewed? They usually are, yes. Common themes arise and are essential to the understanding of our physical and spiritual experiences. But this process is not a review, and neither is it a judgment. The experiences of physical lifetimes are always positive implements, learning tools, and since it has already happened, what would be the point of a review? Also, if all experiences serve to increase our knowledge of ourselves and our existence, then what need for a review? This process is a necessary pathway towards our greater knowledge of ourselves. It is only by gaining greater knowledge of ourselves that we can aspire to achieve the reaching of the pinnacle, which does not exist, right? Which does not exist, my guide confirmed. 3 egg-like shapes appeared on the wall in front of us. The lights did not seem to emanate from any source or contraption, and appeared more like an intense energy, similar to the type of light that might be created when a laser hits a solid object. The difference was that there was no beam creating these lights. The 3 lights moved over the surface of the wall on occasion, but mostly they remained still. The intense energy of these lights seemed part of the wall, rather than attached to it. One light sat higher than and was flanked by the other 2. It also became clear that each ball of light energy was intelligent in nature. Every nanosecond of the life that is eternal, both physical and non-physical, is a learning process. Each energy must theorize and assimilate all that is wished to be learned. In this chamber, intentions, hypotheses, and action are objectively viewed with the intention of setting further objectives. The 3 entities you see before you are not judges, neither are we evaluators nor teachers. We, as do all senior energies in this realm, act as guides. Our role is simply to protect to objective observations on the table, so to speak. We have no views on what is revealed in such evaluations, but we are here to assist the individual evaluator to be able to actively pursue learning opportunities which will be of positive benefit to their continued existence. It was the lower right energy that communicated this information to me. I wanted to ask so many questions, but was unable to do so. The lower left energy continued. You may be aware that an individual spiritual energy does not exist alone. In fact, it cannot. Many thousands, hundreds of thousands, of different energies integrate in one form or another with one energy to achieve the meaning of life, which is to learn and practically act out this learning. A life path does not exist, neither does fate. A lifetime is planned to the degree that certain behaviours and experiences are deemed beneficial to best achieve the desired learned attribute. But the events in a human lifetime can never be mapped out. That would be to remove free will and the desire to learn. An automaton has no need to learn, but acts out a planned course of action. The learning capacity of a human being relies entirely upon free will, upon a capacity to star in and direct their own life. Situations, circumstances, events, and other physical entities can be and are introduced at key stages within that life. It is by choice that any spiritual energy can contribute to an individual lifetime in whatever way might afford benefit to itself and to the person experiencing that lifetime. Whether they are used and the degree to which they are used is always a matter for the individual entity to determine. The middle and highest of the energies before me spoke up. As you learn on earth as human beings, so you learn on a universal scale. It is in your genetic makeup. An interest in a subject leads to theorizing about that subject. Then comes practice, learning and experiencing. After that comes the process of deviating and developing that which to learn the same subject over and over and over again, ad infinitum. It is similar to many ways to driving a car. You know where you want to go, you are familiar with the route and some of the landmarks you will pass. Signposts offer guidance as to how far you have come and how much further you have to go. But the journey will always be different, always and in all ways. The capacity to learn is not governed by intellect, but by the space you afford yourselves to cultivate as many varied experiences as possible. In this case, quantity and quality hold equal relevance. And this is why the physical lifetimes are so cherished, so worshipped, so glorified. Every spiritual energy rejoices with each release and each return. Every physical lifetime can and does affect every other lifetime. The cause and effect of these actions and reactions is not predetermined, only that an opportunity might arise for the greatest benefit to be realized for all affected spiritual beings living earthly existences. So tarot readings, crystal readings, psychic readings and mediumship are all wrong, since nothing is planned for our futures and therefore cannot be foreseen. I guess I already knew the answer to my thoughts, which was not even broadcast as a question. It was answered by the central energy light nonetheless. The things you mention can be very useful in highlighting situations where predetermined future opportunities for specific learning might arise. And it is the very nature of these opportunities that make it extremely difficult for their explanation to be too precise. The learning opportunities themselves are not predetermined, only the circumstances that, if moulded and created by an individual or a number of people, might be created. There is therefore no fate, no predetermination in a life path. There are instead signposts, if you like, specific markers that will or will not be picked up and utilised to create opportunities for learning and growth. And this is a learning opportunity for me, was my next thought. A moment of silence, during which time the three light energies seemed to shimmer as they moved a little before settling back to their original settings. Yes and no, the left-sided energy replied. It was your desire to come here, and it is true this desire was one of those opportunities provided for you that you became aware of and actioned. But this opportunity was posted for another reason. We need your help in resolving an issue that has arisen. But if this opportunity was placed into my life plan before I was born, you had 50 Earth years to resolve this issue without any need for input from me. Once again, my mind automatically let go of this thought without any interaction from me. There was always a chance that this situation would arise, and that you might become involved. That is why this marker was inserted into your current lifetime. I should explain that here in the spirit realm, all is known. There can be no deceit, no hiding away from issues or from the truth. Therefore, we have no reason to assume that all will not run immaculately. This is how the spirit realm has been created and will always be. We have minimal security measures in certain areas, but that is only to preserve and protect those elements essential to the authenticity of two worlds, the spiritual and the physical, which work simultaneously together, much more closely than you might imagine. So why do you need my help, I asked. We are aware of a fault in the mechanism that links our two planes of existence. As I already explained, our security measures are there to protect and preserve the records of existence and certain ongoing operational issues. But there is nothing in place to protect individual spiritual involvement with the human world. This falls outside of our need for security. The polarity that exists here between spiritual energies and our structure and environment is such that it could never be envisaged that an issue such as this could arise. We do not, therefore, have the capability to deal with such issues arising out of non-secure environment. Has this kind of thing ever happened before? In theory it cannot, but it was always foreseen, always known that this incident would happen. Otherwise I would not have signposts to this effect written into my life plan, I insisted. Yes, that is correct. At the age of 14, you made a choice that eventually led to the opportunity you face now. That choice set up the chain of events that has led to the present day situation. What choice did I make? You chose to return to the earth plane to continue this lifetime. Did I really have a choice? Yes, you did. And since you made that choice, the instigator of these problems is an intricate part of your life path, and always will be. We do have free will to make choices, yes? Yes, you do. So can we not choose consciously or subconsciously to deviate from our learning path in a particular lifetime? You can, but invariably you do not. Future events can only occur as a result of one of two choices. You do something or you do not. You cross the road or you do not. You brush your teeth now or you do it later. You drift off to sleep now or you watch another program on the television. You decide to accept the offer of injection to relieve the pain you feel in your abdomen or you do not. I can accept that for major events, but for everything? Every nanosecond of the present, of the here and now, sets up your future path. Every decision ever made sets up a significant chain of events. But that means each lifetime also changes because of these decisions, right? Yes, this is because a decision can be changed, and very often it is. So in this case, where a decision is changed, an alternative future learning path is established. I should add that these future paths have the potential to exist forever and ever too, until they are changed by the next decision. Yes, ad infinitum. So your physical and spiritual existence are forever being created anew. And so you, most cherished and revered one, are the creator and the created, the actor and director, the cast and the crew, the puppet and the puppet master, the sheep and the shepherd, and so on. So if I have this right, all decisions I ever made, all actions I ever took, all words I ever said, and all thoughts I ever had, in this lifetime and in others, added the bright energy on the right side as I looked, in this lifetime and in others, set up the conditions and circumstances under which I would be here now, being asked by your revered selves to help you catch a spiritual saboteur. Well, it's not quite as simple as that, but yes. My host gestures that we should move on. Once again our movement was instantaneous. We arrived at a very long hall that stretched left and right as far as the eye could see. 3 steps in front of us was what looked like a three-dimensional tapestry that filled the entire length of the hall. The tapestry was about 2 meters high and bordered top and bottom by thick oak beams. The tapestry consisted of many different colours and shapes, seemingly interwoven. Blues and blacks, golds and greens, reds and yellows. I pushed my head back a little as I tried to take in the whole of a part of the tapestry to discern an overall colour. The colour was similar to that you might find on the outside of a woman's womb, or on the covering of any internal organs or parts, for that matter. It was a dull greyish pink. The pinkness of it gave the appearance of life. I could make out no fabric beneath the pattern. The item in front of you is possibly the most important creation ever assembled. This, my dear friend, is the tableau representation of life. As such, it represents all the circumstances that satisfy the energetic and molecular parts that are the living essence of the creative force inside everything. Tableauic, is that even a word? I asked. It is now. Using vocabulary, this is the closest I can come to representing what you see before you. This is the tableau of life. As I looked at the construction before me, I noticed a tiny movement for the corner of my eye and turned my head automatically in that direction. I took a step forward and found I could not move anymore. My legs were solid, my arms stayed in exactly the same position. I struggled to make any movement at all. I could not. It was mentioned before that we have security systems in place where necessary. This is one such place, my guide explained to my unasked question. I pulled my forwardmost leg away from the tableau. I felt a twitch in my foot, and it slowly started to retreat. The lower part of my leg began to move backwards, following my foot. Then my upper leg and my hip twisted away from the tableau. Feeling came back to my arms, so I slowly stepped back to rest at my original starting point. The leg I pushed forward ached and was deadened, as if the blood flow had been severely hampered, and then returned to normal. I felt the veins in my neck throb and was acutely aware of blood pulsing through on its way to my brain. This hallway is not empty, as it seems to you. A security system was alerted as soon as you started taking a step closer to the tableau. It is still there in front of you now, even though you're not aware of it. Why a need for security if all entities occupying this space are spiritual? You will be surprised how many visitors we receive. And what shape or form does this security measure take? I mentally asked. That is irrelevant. Suffice to say it is there and aware at all times. We need some of them at the clubs where I live. Crime will become obsolete. There was no response from my host. I guessed that humour might be in short supply here. I thought I saw movement. I wanted to take a closer look. All creation is continually in motion. All life is continually evolving, changing, recreating. What you might not yet comprehend is that this tableau before you is not just another aspect of life. This is not just a cog in the machine, in your machine. It is not an artifact, nor is it a tool, nor is it a pipe in the system. No, dear friend, this tableau is life itself, living. So this magnificent depiction of in front of me is not that. It is not a representation of life, it is life. I struggled to comprehend the impact of my thoughts I was projecting, not on my host but on my own mind, maybe in my own sanity. Yes. Wait a minute, my life, right at this moment, involves me laying on my sofa and being involved in some kind of far-out meditative experience, the like of which I could never have imagined in my wildest dreams ever. So far as I can see, that is the totality of my physical existence, my human experience, right at this moment in time. I immediately knew the shallowness of my thoughts, even after all I had experienced in my life. After becoming diabetic at 7 years old, dying and being resuscitated at 14, my determination to read about and push the boundaries of spiritual experiences, my abilities to receive information psychically, to hypnotize people, to heal them. Of course, there was much more to my existence than that which we can see, touch, hear, smell and taste. I turned to look at my shrouded host. My eyes widened, my jaw dropped a little. A crease formed above my eye sockets. There is no... I struggled to frame my thoughts, to finish the jigsaw of the realizations that only now had come bursting through the locked gates of my mind, all boundaries broken. There is no such thing as time, is there? It does not exist. All of everyone's life is governed by, driven by, dictated by something that truly does not exist. You are right, my friend. All there is, all there ever was, and all there ever will be, is the here and now. This is where everything that has ever been possible has started, happened, and then ended. It all happens now. There cannot ever be any other way to live. To do so would be to defy and deny life itself, and that can never happen. This moment contains memories of the past. It is the present in every possible form, and it will always be the future as defined by the present. The here and now, I said telepathically. Essentially, that is correct. The shell contained a nut in the past, but that past event is a memory. It has no creative reality. The past can only ever occupy one moment in time, when it was, in fact, the present, the here and now, defining the future. In effect, the past never existed. The future cannot ever exist. It only exists as a plan or as a potential outcome of here and now circumstances, choices and actions. This tableau in front of you is life, in action, in the present now. All choices made, all actions taken, all words spoken, all deeds done, all hopes, dreams, catastrophes, nightmares, any and all that ever existed in this moment in time cannot exist without this tableau. This is the definition of life being right here. Life moves, changes ever and ever more. The tableau is in motion all the time life is being lived, in any shape or form. In this respect, the tableau moves always and inexorably. Towards a conclusion? I asked. There can be no conclusion, as there was no beginning. Energy just is and will always be. Life is energy in motion. Nothing more and nothing less. So this tableau goes on forever that way, I pointed to the right. And that way too, my host lifted his arm and pointed to the left. And each perception of this tableau will be different, I said. You have learned well, my friend, yes. Each perception of this tableau will be different. The only common denominator being that the tableau will always be a representation of life being lived at this moment. But if time does not exist, this moment cannot exist, because this moment is a moment in time. You are correct again. So what is that way? I pointed again to my right side. In that direction is the pinnacle that does not exist. And in that direction, I pointed to my left. In that direction is also the pinnacle that does not exist. So if I wanted to prove that God did not exist, I could do so by cutting the tableau at either end. In theory, yes. But to whom would it be proved? All life would cease to exist, and would ever have existed in the first place. Since without any present there can be no past and no future. Science will never be able to prove the existence of God, but equally neither will you be able to prove God's non-existence. There is no beginning and no end in the energy that is life. But you are correct in thinking that to our right is the direction in which all life travels. This is the direction of the destination all life energies seek to attain. To be one with the Creator, to exist as the Creator. In reality, all life is the Creator already. Our creative energy can and does evolve to our right, until each life energy, each life force moves closer and closer to the pinnacle, which, as we already know, does not exist. So to the right and to the left is the ultimate Creator. That is where God exists. Oh, my dear one, to the right and the left of this tableau goes way, way beyond God. So God is not the ultimate creative force, I asked. To be one with God, to join with our Creator, might well be what all life aspires to, consciously or subconsciously. But what created God? So there are energies, forces beyond God. Yes, of course there are. The creative energy you know as God has to own origins. And here is something else that might well blow your mind. The one true creator, the one true God that you, as a life form, aspire to be, originated as you, as all of you. And as time does not exist as an aspect of life, then I hesitated. Maybe I was not fully able to grasp the complexity and the simplicity of what I was about to say. Then we are all God. We are all the Creator. We already are that which we aspire to be. Indeed you are. This knowledge really was mind-blowing. I was aware that my hands were shaking, my body was sweating and numb. The truth, which I was now unravelling, really did have the capacity to blow my mind, literally. And if I wanted to, I could travel to any part of this tableau and view that part of which God exists. Theoretically, yes, but your ability to view anything within the tableau is limited to your capacity to understand what it is you see. Your spiritual development, your life experiences and understanding will only allow you to view that which you have the capacity to take in, to review objectively. In reality, it is really only a very small part of the tableau you will have access to. How small? The area at which you were standing. The tableau went on to infinity, so I was told. If my capacity to understand life really was limited to an arm's width, then what hope of ever reaching the non-existing pinnacle? There was no conclusion I could reach, other than to accept that our lives really did not end when we tell our earthly life forms, that we must continue to exist as an energy, striving to reach a goal that is beyond reach. My good friend, we have one last place to visit. All that you have witnessed during your meditation period is essential to helping unlock the reasons behind the problems that we've been experiencing. It has already been explained to you that operational aspects of the spiritual realm are at least theoretically unbreachable. This is because in this realm openness, understanding and faithfulness are assured. This realm is very different than the earth plane because no energy here has ego or any other humanistic aspect that might provide access to self-interest at the expense of another. Here it is understood that we are all one. There is, therefore, no need for competition, and there is very little need for rules or regulations. There are processes, systems in place to meet any educational and informational need that can ever arise. These processes are foolproof, or so we thought. I found myself now inside a room housing 10 man-sized cylinders. Each cylinder lay horizontal, 1 metre from the floor, and each was equidistant from the next. The cylinders did not appear to have any buttons or switches on, or any type of instrumentation. No wires or tubes of fixed sides, bottom or top. The bottom of the cylinders was dark grey in colour. Each cylinder was topped by an opaque smoky screen, along the edge of which was a single thin black line. I guess this must be the entrance and exit points. But for what? For spiritual energies. This is where we can connect with our human counterparts any time during a current lifetime on Earth. This is where spiritual influences come to bear on your physical experience, where the signposts we mentioned before can be planned, developed and put in place, where an individual human's life path can be observed and interaction can be taken, as and when it is deemed necessary or particularly beneficial. This is where the intricate link between the spiritual realm and your human selves combine. This, my friend, is where life is lived, my guide explained. Wait a minute, You said our human selves. Are you saying that human lives and experiences are only one part of our existence? As we go about our daily lives, as we go shopping, as we take kids to school, as we down a pint, as we flirt in the bar, as we watch porno movies, as we iron Freddie's shirt for school the next day, a separate part of us is here, doing whatever you do, we do in the spiritual realm. Again, my mouth fell open. My eyes creased, and I felt a little saliva pool underneath my tongue. My question was so overwhelming I was unsure at this time whether or not it was actually my brain that could concoct such an idea. This idea seemed ludicrous, preposterous, and went against all that was ever taught or ever known in my physical domain. Yes, we have already discussed the link between spiritual realms and your human realities, but the bond between here and there is much closer than you could ever foresee. It is, in fact, conjoined. Like a Siamese twin, I smirked and lifted my head slightly, tutting as I did. And that was a joke, I said. And it was probably the most serious joke you ever told, because it is extremely close to the truth. We exist here dependent on you. You exist there dependent on us. You might also like to know that it's not just you and us. You exist as an energetic entity on many other planes too. Whoa! I think my head is going to explode. It possibly would if you knew the whole truth. But it is true that in your physical realm and here in the spiritual realm, there are only two planes on which you exist right now. They are two planes of many more, all coexisting, all contributing to the one goal, and all dependent on each other to achieve maximum input towards an individual energetic entity's own achievement. And there we're going to finish. Now, what kind of questions does that bring up for you? How is the spirit world really? What is it that you perceive to be God? How do you see yourself in the grand scheme of things? Because what I wanted to try to show was how, as I said in the book, it's man who created God, who created an image of God, not the other way around. God exists as God is, and we none of us can say exactly what that is. But as man, we felt a need to show an image, and mostly it was for control of our immediate counterparts, our communities, our social life. It was to keep social life good and strong. But what I tried to show in the book was simply an idea of what might be possible. My ideas with writing this book was so that you, my reader, would be able to make up their own minds, would have a look at their own lives, and have a look at how spiritual influences might take effect in your own lives. Because as a psychic reader, and as a hypnotherapist, and as a life coach, I know that that does happen. See you very soon.